Hi, welcome to FlowWright version 10.7. I'm going to be demonstrating the new inbuilt document management system into FlowWright and all the different pieces that go with it. So let's get started. Let me go ahead and log into FlowWright. Once I log in, I'm going to go to the left menu here and go to administration. First thing you must do is set up something called a DMS source. And if you go onto the menu called DMS sources, you'll see you have a couple of them already set up. The default one we set up is the file system one, and we have a couple of different providers. In this case, you will see that the FlowWright DMS, the default one, has file system as the provider, and also the root path for this particular file system provider. This is where all the files are going to be stored, uh, and it will be used within the UI. And I have also configured a couple of other ones to demonstrate. We also support Azure Blob Storage and Azure File Share Storage, and also Amazon S3 storage. If you go into these, you can configure your information for connecting to these cloud systems. Once you have defined this, you can go to the DMS and you'll see a new menu here on on the left-hand side called DMS. And this will open up a new window displaying the DMS. In this case, you can see that there are four different root folders here based on the sources that we have configured. I'm going to go ahead and expand my FlowWright DMS source. And you will see that in this case, I can see that I have two folders here, data and departments. I can also expand this tree and go to these also. And if I go to departments and system, you can see I have a file here. Let's start with the folders. So if I go into this particular folder, I can also see who has access to this folder. Right now, security is open on this, but I can also have a couple of different options on this particular folder. I can rename, I can remove this folder, I can create a subfolder, I can upload a document, get the URL for this folder for sharing. I can view the history for this folder, view permissions, folder permissions, default document permissions. I can archive this folder, and I can also look at the details. So the details will tell you the name of the folder, when it was created, last updated, uh, created by who, last updated by who, number of children, number of documents in the folder, all that information, including permissions. You can also go into these folders and you can also drag and drop documents into these folders. So for example, I'm going to drag a document from my file system here. I'm just going to say data.txt, and you can see a drag zone comes up, and I can just click, and now that particular file is uploaded to that particular folder. And I can also go and look at various different details about this. If I click on details, you can see when this document was created, by who, when it was last modified, the file size, the version number, various statuses, and including metadata. Um, we can also set up security on this. You can see access control has will show you who the owner is. Right now, there's no security setup, but we can actually do various other operations. Copy this document, rename, remove, check out. You can get a shared URL for this document, download it, set up permissions, view history, and view revisions, archive this particular document, and also classify this document, use various different classifications, and also view the details. Okay. For this document, let's go ahead and check out this document. So I'm going to go ahead and say check out. And you can see we've changed the color also to red for this particular file. And you can see if I go to the menu again, I can also see, I can check in. I can also do undo checkout. So let's go ahead and check in. And I'm actually, before I do the check-in, I'm going to go ahead and update the file. So I'm going to say update document. I can also drag and drop right from here. Also, so I'm going to go ahead and drop this and upload. And as you can see, it's telling me that this data cannot be uploaded because what I'm trying to upload is exactly same as what's already there. So I'm going to go ahead and modify this little file here. I'm going to make a little modification. And now let's go ahead and drag and drop and upload. And as you can see, it got uploaded. And now I can go ahead and check in. When you're checking in, you can give a comment if you like. Otherwise, you can also just click check in and the file is checked in. If you go to the version history, you can also see what operations were performed. So here the document 1.0 was created, document was checked out, and here the document checked in. And we can also look at the revisions for this document. So if I click on view revisions, you can see version 1.0, version 1.1, and this will be arranged in based on order or the version number. You can also download each of these versions, and you must have security permissions to do that. And you can also perform various other operations. Let's go ahead and set up some security permissions for this document. So let's go to permissions. In these permissions, you can set up either by users or by roles or both. So in this case, let's go ahead and add a user. Um, Let me try to find a user that exists. So in this case, we have a user called Jay Morrison. I'm going to use that user to set up security. So I'm going to go ahead and add. So you can see the various different permissions we have on a document. You have view, you have download, remove, update, archive, and set permissions. So in this case, if you have view, you have access to this document either through a direct URL or by navigating on the DMS tree. If you have download, you can download the file attached to this particular document. You can, if you do remove, you'll be able to remove this to the recycle bin. You can update this document, things like rename and things like that, or metadata with the update permission. And if you have archive permission, you can archive this document. And if you have permission, then you can actually manage this particular UI. You can go and change the security on this document. You can do the similar thing. I'm going to go ahead and say, let's say download, and I'm going to say save permissions. You can also add a role same way. I can search for a role here. Let's say finance role and add that and give some permissions. Now, any member within this finance role will automatically have these particular permissions, view and download. And once you have applied these permissions, you can actually go and look at these permissions now. You can, if you click on access, you'll see who has access to this document. We can also go and set up various different classifications for these documents. And classifications also contain metadata definitions. So, for example, if you want to add some kind of metadata classifications, let's say this document belongs to sales, you can do that. So once you're in this classification screen, you can click and it will actually show you the list of classifications, or you can also search. So in this case, I'm going to classify document as sales, and you can also see automatically it also brought in metadata that's associated with sales. So I can say, okay, this document belongs to client, you know, client ID with this number, and you can also add any number of classifications. And you can also define those classifications in another UI here, and we'll show you that also. And so let me go ahead and save that. So now we have data stored against that particular document. If you look at this document, we also can archive this, and it will go into the archival. And if you look at the view UI here, you'll see you have access to recycle bin. These are admin functions, archive, and also classifications. And these are admin functions where admins can go and manage things. They can go into classifications and they can, manage classifications and the metadata associated with those classifications. You can also go into archival UI and you can see what is archived, and you can restore them. You can, destroy them or empty the whole archival. You can also delete and archive folders, and you can also restore them also. So let's go and view the recycle bin. Right now, I don't have anything in the recycle bin, but let's go ahead and delete this document. I'm going to say remove. And if I look at the recycle bin, I can see that document's in the recycle bin. I have a couple of options here also. I can either restore it back, I can destroy it, or I can empty the recycle bin. And so various, functions that are available in FlowWright now within the DMS. We have also built a API, REST API, for the DMS on top of the .NET API that we have. So if you go to your standard API, REST API URL, you will see that we have a document level REST API calls, things like to create a document, rename document, delete, standard operations, but also many other things like check in, check out. And we also have fold operations that you can perform, and various standard functions and CRUD type operations. So full APIs, REST API is fully supported, and we have built a lot of security into our applications. So we wanted to make sure that your data and it's fully secure. And as you know, FlowWright already has enterprise grade security. The next thing we have built into FlowWright with regards to DMS is workflow steps that are specific to the DMS. So if I go back to FlowWright here, and let's go ahead and look at administration and steps. And you'll see a new category that is available now called DMS documents and DMS folders. Here we have a whole bunch of steps. So for example, if you want to add history to a document, if you want to approve document, archive document, check in, check out, various different functions, what you saw on API is now available also as steps. So you can do document operations. You might get FlowWright to generate a document, and then that document might be placed within a folder in the DMS. Once that is done, there might be other routing that might happen, like send it for review and approval, things like that. We also have workflow steps for DMS folders. So if you want to do things like, hey, check if a folder exists, or go ahead and create a folder. You want to send a link to a folder to somebody, email. So you can perform all those operations, and all these steps are now available in our process designer. So if I go to definitions, and if I go to one of my, let's say, for example, this particular workflow, you will see I have DMS documents and DMS folders, and these are all available for you to use. Thank you for watching. Hope you will use these new features that we have bundled in FlowWright. And we've had many requests from customers to have some kind of DMS Lite or DMS within the FlowWright product. And we have delivered that with version 10.7. And we'll be also making more and more enhancements to the DMS with the next few versions, integrating in more AI and better search capabilities and various integrations for the DMS. Thank you for watching.